If I were to face my Creator tomorrow, I want to be able to say that I lived my life, every day of my life, to the fullest ability of the gifts that I was given. And I wake up every morning with thanksgiving in my heart, and I go to bed with thanksgiving, and so many times with prayers for help. You know, how am I going to get through whatever challenge it is that I am living through on that particular day? And life isn't always great. You know, we have these storybook ideas when we grow up that we're going to meet Prince Charming. Well, let me tell you, that makes for a great first marriage trial, those Prince Charmings, right? You know, you try out the Prince Charming, and a few years later, they're not really Prince Charming. And, you know, growing up devoutly Catholic, that was like horror of horrors, you know, that you would get divorced. But I also believe to thine own self be true. You know, how long can you be miserable not living your life the way you want it to be? And so, you know, it's a dichotomy, the lives that we live in. You know, we have this inner child that screams to be free, that wants to try different things. And yet we have all of these other cultural things, family things, societal things, the expectations of who we are supposed to be. Well, we're going to talk this morning about the fact that you are more. And please understand, this message is not about you need to do more. There is a huge difference, because that's what we hear as women. We need to do more. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being more, about allowing that inner child, about going back to the beginning of who you were meant to be and releasing that inner child, because as we'll talk in a little bit, it's never too late. I want to share a story with you about Monty Roberts. And when I'm talking about culture and society and the ingrained ideas of the can'ts, that you can't do certain things. Now, Monty Roberts was in school, and it was his senior year. And he came from a family where his father was a horse trainer. So they traveled all over the country. He never got to finish a single grade in any particular school. But it was finally his senior year. And one of his teachers asked the students to go back and write a paper about what they would do when they grew up. So he was so excited because he felt the endless possibilities of what he might do and be. So he wrote a 7-page paper about the fact that he was going to own a huge horse ranch. And he was going to breed horses on this ranch, and he was going to have a 4,000 square foot house. And he even drew the house on a piece of paper. So he was so excited, he turned his paper in, and the next day he got his paper back, and it had a big F on it. And he went to the teacher and he said, "I don't understand. Did I misinterpret the assignment?" And the teacher said, "No, but your goals and your aspirations are unreasonable. You're a poor kid. How will you ever get the money to have a 4,000 square foot house? And how will you ever find the money to breed horses? Do you realize how expensive horses can be? Go back and rewrite your paper. Give me something that is realistic, and I'll consider changing your grade." So Monty Roberts went back home with this dilemma, and he talked to his father about it, and his father said, "You have a choice, son. Whatever you decide, I will support you." Monty thought about it for a week, and he went back and he handed the teacher his paper. He said, "You can keep the F. I'm going to keep my dream." And he today is the horse whisperer. He has written books. He has a 2,000 square foot horse ranch in San Ysidro, California. And he is hailed as a huge success. He breeds horses. He has fulfilled his dreams. I want you to think about those times, those people, and those places that each and every one of us has encountered in our lives where we were told, exchange your dream. That's not realistic. You can never reach your goals. I mean, I wanted to be a speaker ever since I can remember. My dad was in Toastmasters when I was growing up. And in the 60s, it wasn't until like 1972 that Toastmasters allowed women to become part of the organization. They had a group called Toastmistresses. Can you dig it? So they had the Toastmasters and the Toastmistresses. So as a little girl, I used to watch my father practicing his public presentations, his debates. Him and my uncle Don Ortiz, who still lives here in Santa Fe and is involved in lots of things, were part of a debate team. Now you have to realize that my father, when he started first grade, could not speak a word of English. Despite the fact that both sides of our family have been here for 10 generations in New Mexico, before it was New Mexico, he had learned only to speak Spanish. And he was going to school with the nuns, and they would hit him whenever they spoke Spanish. They'd have to wear the dunce cap. And so for his children, he was so concerned that he did not want us to ever have to face that humiliation, that embarrassment, that we had to learn perfect English before we learned Spanish. So hace muchos años, primera vez yo practicaba español. I didn't learn to speak Spanish until I was in my 20s, until I made a coerced effort to learn Spanish. And this was the 50s and the 60s, where you wanted to just blend in and be like and assimilate. And it was all about looking like and sounding like. And we lived in Albuquerque in the Heights, and there were 2 Hispanic families. And you knew we were the Hispanic families because we were the ones with all the children. The Rodriguezes with 7, and the Benavideses with 5. And everybody else had 2 kids on the block, and the moms were all secretaries, or they worked as telephone operators. That's what you did in the 50s and 60s. You were a secretary or a telephone operator. And so that was kind of the culturalization. Go to school, finish high school, get married, maybe you could be a secretary. That was the vision growing up. But there was another side of my dad who always used to say, you can be anything you want to be. Really, if you want to do something, shoot for the moon, maybe you'll hit a star. And I remember him saying that time and time again. And maybe it was for my brothers, but it certainly fell on my ears. And so when I watched him do those Toastmaster speeches, I thought, how cool is that? So I want you to know that I have been paid to speak and not to speak. When I was growing up, my brothers on vacations would frequently ante up if I would zip it for the ride wherever we were going. And I was always motivated by money. So I would not speak, and they would be begging me to speak towards the end because it would be such a boring trip. And I would refuse to speak until they anteed up and paid me. So I truly have been paid to speak and not to speak. So like Monty Roberts, I kept thinking, when is there going to be an opportunity to do something like this? And after working for New Mexico State government for 14.5 years, I launched my career and took the leap, as we'll talk about for you in just a little bit, taking that huge leap. Taking those opportunities when the doors are open for you. And I want to talk a lot about our intuitive nature as women. I just loved it so much this morning when Joan and Paula awarded all 3 chapters the award for Best Chapter. That is such a female value. Do you realize that? I work in the corporate world, and we talk about the communication style and the management style of men and women. And I have a slide that says, is this a male value competition, or is it a female value? And always, everybody gets it right. Competition is a male value. Collaboration is a female value. And you know, having everybody win is such a female thing that we all feel good about what we do. And there is a huge need in our world today, a huge need for women's voices, for women's presence. We need to be more. We need to stake our claim in what we do, in our homes, in our churches, in our communities, in our offices. We must become fully present. And so much of what we're going to talk about today is becoming present, becoming truly in touch with that inner self. Because if today is the last day of your life, I don't want you leaving with regrets and resentments, with the what ifs, with the onlys. If only I had done these things. Someday. How many of us live for someday? Can I see a show of hands? Be honest with me. Someday. You know, I mean, in part, I have lived for someday. I did not travel internationally. I really tried not to travel too far away from home. I built a pretty decent business here in New Mexico. I've got a nice size of clients, government clients that book me on a regular basis. Why? Because I wanted to be able to pick up the kids, to take them to soccer practice, to be able to do the things that we need to do. And we as women are caught in the role because we've got children and we've got the involvements, and so we are so selfless. But if you recall, whenever you get on a plane, what do they tell you to do with the oxygen mask? If in the case of an emergency, what are you asked to do? Put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And we ask people, will you be able to do that? You have to be able to do that, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of other people. And if you are full of regrets and resentments, you're not going to be able to be fully present to the people in your lives. So it's about striking the balance, looking inside, and recognizing what's in store for you. Do you follow the crowd? Are you one of those people that just gets up every day and marches to the drum of that same, beat of that same drummer day in and day out? Are you lost in material things? We had dinner with a friend last night, a colleague of my husband's, and he has been in an absolutely loveless and miserable marriage for 23 of his 25 years. And I said to him, Peter, why don't you get a divorce? I mean, I've never, we went to dinner and then we went to a fabulous jazz concert, and he's our date. He's the one that organizes it for us, so he goes with my husband and I. And he said, well, because we have this big house on Bishop's Lodge Road. And, it was like caught up in all these material things that he couldn't extract himself. And I remembered feeling that way. I remembered being in that first marriage for 13 and a half years too long. And I was so grateful to Petra. I said to her as we were walking out, I gave her a huge hug, and I will never forget the courage that it took to get that miserable divorce, and the feeling, I will never forget the feeling of running from your office like the weight of the world had fallen off of me. Because I got married at 18. I followed that crowd. I did the things that I was asked to do, and it was miserable. Luckily, I had several girlfriends that were attorneys, and they gave me the boilerplates, and I picked and chose, and I was very fair, and I said, here is our pie. We had one child. Pick the side that you want. I'll take the other side, either side. You buy me out, I'll buy you out. And he signed, and I was so grateful. And I was free to follow my dreams after that. So we think about what are the things that hold us back in our lives. Each of us have our own things. But that was, I think I was 30, I guess, I don't know, you do the math, 18 plus 14, 32. 32 and a half when I finally got that divorce. Are we busy keeping up with the Joneses? And how happy does that make you? Another car, another payment, another house. I remember being absolutely miserable at one point in my life. 5 houses, 3 cars, tons of stuff. And then slowly but surely getting rid of most of that stuff. And now I'm in a mode where I'm getting more stuff. But I mean, we go back and forth. But recognizing our stuff has responsibilities with it. And how can you be more if you are buried in your stuff? So each of you have your own barometer. It may be applicable to you, it may not be. But think about that, the choices that we make. Every choice that we make leads us to the point that we are in our lives today. Do you feel the need to get off the carousel? Do you feel like the little mouses that are running? Especially you, the younger women. Now is the time to really make conscious choices that are free of the culture, free of the family influences, free of the expectations of other people. Do you know that I was 50 years old when my father died? I was the oldest child, and I felt driven my entire life. And he had been gone for 6 months. And I woke up one morning and I thought, you know, he's not here to make me crazy anymore. I can be whoever I want to be. I don't have to keep performing. I don't have to be the ambitious person he pushed me to be. I can be nothing, or I can be everything. I don't have to be those expectations. And in becoming more, we have to let go of those ideas. So think about, what is it that you need to get off of? What do you need to turn your back on so that you can become more? Can you take a new route? Is it scary to take a new route? Is it hard to think about changing things? Sure, it is. The next question that I have, besides what if today was your last day, is who are you today? And I want you to just jot down on a piece of paper, what's the first thought that came to your mind when you saw this? Who are you today? Now, we define ourselves so often by what? Our career, absolutely. So the first thing that might come to your mind is, I am a banker. Who are you today? Some of our first thoughts may be what? How else do we define ourselves? Our mother. We are a mother. What else are we? We're a sister. We're a child. We are an aunt. We are, you know, a worker amongst workers. But I'd like for you to just take a couple of minutes to share what popped into your mind when you saw this slide and I asked the question, who are you today? So if you'll just take 4 minutes to discuss at your table who you are today, I want to come around and see what you have to say, all right? So do that for me, all righty. All right, thank you. So starting with the back of the table, point to the person at your table that you think should be the spokesperson, and the person that has the most fingers pointing at you, you're it, all right? So, spokesperson. All right, starting at this back of the table. Go ahead. It's you.
I'm sorry for the whole table.
Uh-huh.
A few things, like explain those things with career or height.
Okay, career?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Or physical attributes.
Oh, so who are you as a physical attribute? I'm short, I'm tall, I'm thin, okay, that's interesting. Uh-huh.
And mine was a work in progress.
Okay, a work in progress. Excellent. Anything else to add? Nice and loud?
I said that I'm myself.
Okay, you're yourself. Okay, good. So who am I? I am myself, this unique individual. Excellent. How about back here?
Do you mind if I share with them quickly? Student, seeker, unique spirit. What came into my mind right away is just Geraldine.
Geraldine. Okay. Okay.
A long time ago, my mother gave me that name. I didn't appreciate it, but I have a very strong, solid mother who's passed away. She's my hero and my role model. So she has helped me self-actualize.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. How about this table?
We have a mom, somebody who sees themselves as a mom, a successful businesswoman, strong and independent woman, and that's about as far as we got.
Okay, okay. Well, we can continue later. Okay, Kathy.
We had, this was just our first thought, like you said, that came to mind right away. And the first one was a mom. The next one was, I am confident. The next one was a wife. And the next one was, I am tired and need sleep.
Okay, good, good. Well, it's interesting when you check in with yourself and you go through the variations of who you are. And we're so, we're like a diamond. We're really multifaceted. There are so many aspects of ourselves. And to allow them all the opportunity to shine. And I saw this and I just thought this was so cool. And it says, this is your life. Do what you love and do it often. If you don't like something, change it. If you don't like your job, quit. If you don't have enough time, stop watching TV. If you are looking for the love of your life, stop. They will be waiting for you when you start doing things you love. Stop overanalyzing. All emotions are beautiful. Life is simple. When you eat, appreciate every last bite. Open your mind, arms, and heart to new things and people. We are united in our differences. Ask the next person you see what their passion is and share your inspiring dream with them. Travel often. Getting lost will help you find yourself. Some opportunities only come once. Seize them. Life is about the people you meet and the things you create with them. So go out and start creating. Life is short. Live your dream and wear your passion. You are more. So part of that is getting in touch. How can we become more if we don't know? And I always think we're just running so fast. So much is going on. And we live in an incredible era and an incredible time where, there's more words. There's 5 times more words than in the time of Shakespeare, to describe all of the things that we're doing. In the United States, we are so isolated compared to what's going on in the rest of the world. Things are just happening exponentially so quickly. And so it's hard to find time to get connected with yourself. And I think about this because in 2009, I'd put on quite a bit of weight, and I was involved I was the president of an organization, and I was running my business, and I just finished writing a book, and I had a lot of stuff going on. And I hurt from head to toe. I was having really bad, severe back problems. And it was a Saturday like today, and I was at a conference, and we had brought in a renowned speaker from California to speak. And I moved just in a very strange way, and I had the most excruciating pain that was worse than childbirth. I literally thought I was going to faint from the pain. Imagine just sitting there and all of a sudden and this obnoxious fellow that was standing there, getting ready he was participating with the speaker, and all I could do was just kind of do this with the program. And he turned and he said, "Are you having a hot flash?" And I said, "No, I'm in terrible pain and I think I'm going to faint." At which point he and another fellow came and actually picked me up and took me out. And I had to be hauled away. I've never ridden in an ambulance before in my life, but I had to be hauled out in an ambulance and given 2 shots of morphine before they could move me. I was in so much exasperating pain in my back. I had sciatic pain that I had ignored, living in my head and not in my body. And went to the emergency room, rode in the ambulance. My poor husband was in another conference. It was just not the kind of drama I really want to be known for. And I really had to just stop and take a look at my life and say, I am so out of touch with my body that I couldn't even acknowledge the pain to start doing things. And from that time in September of 2009 to this day, I continue a regime of stopping, getting quiet every day, once a day, twice a day, stretching, yoga, Pilates, so that I can be in touch with me. Because it is easy to become so caught up in the world that you don't even acknowledge till your body is absolutely screaming. So 3 shots of morphine later, and I forget what all they gave me. I swear I was sober enough I could stood up and just given a presentation. I was at least finally out of pain. And that's what it took. That was the call to action that my body required for me to finally get in touch with myself. I hope that none of you have to go to that extreme to listen to what your bodies are saying, because so often there is information tucked away. And it's never too late to change your life. It's never too late to do something differently. Now, when Christy was 2, I had Christy when I was 22 and I had Kate when I was 38. So I always have to do the math by the ages of the girls. But I was 24 and I had gone to college for a couple of years, and you know, in between I got married at, I graduated from high school at 16, went off to college for a year, and then I'd picked up another year of college. And Christy was 2 and I was at a women's conference like today, except it was way bigger than this. And there was a woman from Colorado that was a state legislator, and she was an attorney, and she was talking about the balance of having a new baby and being a state legislator and following your dreams and following your path and making a goal and being determined. And I was so inspired by her talk that I left that conference and drove straight to the College of Santa Fe, where I had an incomplete from one of the classes, and made the arrangements to finish up so I could get that class taken care of, and went back to work and applied for, you know, continuing school and did the loans, and I would keep track till I was able to graduate from college on the same day that Christy Michelle graduated from kindergarten. We graduated together, her at 5 and me at 28, from getting a degree. And that was my recognizing that it's never too late. You know, I have a dear friend, Mary Jo, who went to acupuncture school when she was in her late 50s. And she's a practicing acupuncturist now in her 60s and does great work for people. So, you know, we can realize our dreams. We can stop and change gears at any time and place. You can start now. You can start today. You don't build a wall all at once. And this, to me, is one of the biggest reasons we don't achieve our goals and our dreams and our aspirations, because we want to build the wall overnight. You build a wall by laying one brick at a time every day. So you think about, you get in touch and you decide, my back did not get better overnight. It took 2 years of every day, twice a day, on the ground, stretching and getting in touch with those muscles and breathing and doing a whole lot of things that I needed to do to get to mend my body so that it would work for me. It doesn't happen overnight. But if you take the first step, you can accomplish those goals. So let me suggest that you want more love in your life. Is there anybody in this room that would love to have more love in their life? Can I see a show of hands? Sure, we could all use more love in our life. So how do you get more love in your life? You give more love. And my dear, dear friend, Mary Strammel, is one of the most loving people that I know. Yes. You know, she just gives, and not just to professional business women, but to so many organizations. She's just, you know, she brings breakfast burritos every Sunday morning to people in recovery. Just makes them up, batches of breakfast burritos. She feeds people emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And I'm so grateful to you, Mary. I really am. You're a great example of giving love. And so whatever it is that you need in your life, I always say you need to give more of it. If you need more money in your life, guess what you need to do? Start giving more, because you create that flow. And think of life as a flow, a river. And a river stays pure and clean by what means? By the fact that it runs over the rocks and it keeps going. You look at the Dead Sea, and why is it called the Dead Sea? Nothing comes in and nothing goes out. It is just thick, salt water, and nothing can live in that thick, salt water. So to get more, you give more, and you surround yourself with that of which you want. And if you don't have it, I have great words of wisdom. You fake it till you make it. It's that simple. I love those words. Embrace your world, the world around you. Whatever world that you have, be grateful. That's the thing that I've learned, is just to have gratitude. You know, I hear people moan and groan, and you know, I'm so sick of hearing people talk about the recession. You know, I've been self-employed for 22 years. I say, you know, you just roll up your sleeves and you just go hustle some more work. I have a 501, I have an S corporation, not a 501c3, I wish, but it's an S corporation, so that means I can't collect unemployment. I'm the CEO of my company and the president and the janitor and everything else. So if things aren't going well, I can't, you know, collect unemployment. I have to be creative and innovative. So I embrace the world. I trust the world. I believe in what I need to manifest in my life. I visualize it. I see it. I hear it, I smell it, I use my senses. And I'm asking you, in being more, to use your senses. Become aware of those things. Stop dreaming and start doing whatever it is that you need to do so that you're not held back. So if today was or is the last day of your life, you can face your Creator and say, I did the best job I knew how to do with what I had. Now, part of this is becoming truly intuitive. I have a friend in St. Paul, Minnesota by the name of Addie. And Addie is an incredible person. She's a teacher, and she's also a motivational speaker. At times, she has opportunities, but she's a teacher at heart. And she has a hobby of creating origami. Is that how you say that word? Origami. Right, origami. And she creates these fabulous little things, you know, all kinds of little creatures and flowers, and has them out. And she has stories that go with them. And she's also very intuitive. She pays attention to the world around her and to the inner urgings or the inner promptings of her heart. And she told a story recently that truly brought tears to my eyes. She said that she was getting ready for a booth at the mall, and kids were going to come by and people were going to come, and she was getting all of these little pieces of origami ready. And she had this thought that she should create something with gold foil, like some gold. And she says, I never work in gold foil, but all week long I had this prompting. So she decided she'd go through her materials and her papers, and she found this beautiful piece of gold kind of foil. And she said it was a real pain, but she created this beautiful golden crane. And this little voice in her head said, you'll know who to give it to when the time comes. And so it's Saturday, the kids are coming by, lots of people are visiting, they're enjoying her work. And she sees this older woman, very sad, standing there kind of watching. And finally the crowd clears off and the woman comes forward. And she said her hand just reached immediately for that golden crane, and she handed it to the woman. And the woman's tears came down her face, and she said, my husband passed away 3 weeks ago. We buried him 3 weeks ago today. I've not been out of the house. Today was our 50th wedding anniversary, our golden wedding anniversary. And she said, you know, she lives her life like that, intuitively. How many times do you have urgings and promptings? And what do? We ignore them. We don't act on them. We are too busy. We don't pay attention. And she said the blessing of giving that gift to this woman and hugging her and holding her. And she said, I know now that my husband is somewhere safe. This was him talking to me, this gift that she could take home. So I ask you to take Addie's golden crane that I've just given to each and every one of you in the form of a story, to remember to listen to those intuitive pieces of your heart, the tugging, the strings that are called. Reconnect with your intuitive self. Be open to those thoughts. And if you think you're too busy, just jot it down in the moment and look at it at the end of the day to say, when can I make time for that intuitive message? Now, this is an old tale about 4 wives, and I'm going to bring it back to each of us. But it was an old merchant, an old Arab merchant, because, you know, old American merchants, they can't have 4 wives, but old Arab merchants had 4 wives, and this old Arab merchant had these 4 wives. And the 4th wife, he loved absolutely the most. And he took care of her. He made sure she went to the best spas, and her hair always looked great, and her nails were done, and, you know, she got a massage every other day, and she just was absolutely stunningly beautiful. The 3rd wife, he loved a great deal, and he just showered materialistic gifts on her. She had, you know, a new carriage every other day, and she had, you know, all the beautiful houses and just all kinds of great material things. And the 2nd wife was his confidant. That's who he went to when he had problems or concerns or worries, and she would always sit with him with a cup of hot tea and talk with him about the issues of his life and help him figure it out. And then his 1st wife, he didn't pay much attention to her. He didn't really care that much for her. She was, you know, he just didn't care that much about her. Well, one day, the old merchant fell deathly ill, and he knew it was really his last day. So he went to the 4th wife that he had just taken such good care of, and he said, "Will you come with me to the life hereafter?" And she's like, "No way, baby, I'm not coming with you." So he went to the 3rd wife that he had given all these wonderful materialistic things and said, "Will you come with me?" And she said, "No, I'll walk with you to your grave, but that's about as far as I'm going to go." The 2nd wife, he said, "My confidant, certainly you will come with me." And she said, "No can do, I'm going to stay here." So before he had a chance to ask, the 1st wife said, "I'll come with you. I'll be with you. I'll stay with you in the life hereafter." And the 4 wives represent each of us, each of the aspects of our lives. With the 4th wife being our bodies. You know, we look good. We put on makeup. We get our hair colored. We do all these great things, great clothes. And the 3rd wife represents all the materialistic things we have, our homes, our cars, all our goodies. And the 2nd wife represents our friends and our family. And the reality is that none of them can go with us in the life hereafter. The only friend we can take is the 1st wife, which is our soul, our spirit, ourselves, of who we are. So be good to that spirit, know that spirit, connect with that spirit, so that you can become the person that you're meant to be, that you can be more. Nurture yourself, and that means to know your inner self. We're all connected, you see. I really believe that we are really all connected. I believe everybody on the planet is connected, and I believe that the planet itself is a living, breathing entity, and that we need to take care of ourselves and take care of one another. And one of the great opportunities that I have, because I have become more, is I've been invited to change the world. And on the Together We Can Change the World tour, speakers from all over the country are invited to go to Southeast Asia. We raise money for orphanages for primarily young girls, and we speak at different conferences when we're there. And this is a video of some of the speakers there with the kids. This was from the 2010 tour, We Can Change the World. This is Scott Friedman. He organizes the groups. And we, you know, everything that is given goes to a 501c3, and then it goes to the children. So I've been tasked with raising $1,000. I wrote a check for $500 myself. And I'm taking a leap of faith, and I'm going to go. I'll be 2 weeks from today. I will be in an orphanage in Malaysia, and I've decided what I'm going to do is teach them about dental care. I'm going to take toothbrushes and those little red tablets that you have everybody brush their teeth, and then they eat a little red tablet and they can see where the gunk is still on their teeth. And I thought that would be a fun thing. And then I've been saving all my goodies from hotels, you know, the shampoos and the cream rinses and the soaps. And so I'm putting together these little goodie bags and then little books and toys that I'm going to be transporting there. So I'm taking my leap of faith as I continue my walk in becoming more. And I would love for you all to consider joining me. There are some opportunities on the table. If you would like a copy of the presentation today, if you donate $25, Diane and I will make sure that you get a copy of this presentation and the beautiful slideshow for $25. It's free, basically, for your gift. And if anybody would like some individual mentoring, if you donate $200, you can spend a half a day with me and we'll talk about your life and how you can become more. Thank you so much for the privilege and the opportunity of being a part of your life today. Blessings to each of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody needs to stand up. Thank you, sweetie.